Lord, make us instruments of your peace.
Where there is hatred, let us sow love.
Where there is injury, pardon.
Where there is doubt,
Faith. Where there is despair, hope.
Where there is darkness,
light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master,
grant that we may not so much seek
to be consoled as to console,
to be understood as to understand,
to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive,
it is in pardoning that we are pardoned,
and it is in dying
that we are born to eternal life.
Amen.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. CARICOM to observe TNT's 2025 general election. Over 200 gang arrests since the state of emergency began. Investigation underway in Beetham Gardens shooting death. And internationally, Trump's gender declaration sparks global criticism. Now for the details. The Office of the Prime Minister announced that CARICOM has accepted the government's invitation to send an observation mission for the 2025 general election. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley extended the invitation in December 2024, fulfilling a commitment made in Parliament. CARICOM's Secretary General, Dr. Carla Barnett, confirmed the organization's readiness to assist in upholding democracy and good governance across the region. The government reiterated its dedication to ensuring free, fair, and transparent elections. Trinidad and Tobago police have arrested 204 people linked to gang activities since the state of emergency started on December 30th. Assistant Commissioner of Police Richard Smith revealed the majority of arrests occurred in the Port of Spain division. Police Deputy Commissioner Junior Benjamin highlighted a significant decrease in violent crimes, including murders, shootings, and kidnappings, compared to last year. Officials credit anti-gang legislation and strategic operations for the decline. Despite the gains, police are preparing new strategies to sustain these improvements after the SOE ends. The death of 36-year-old Sharida Ali, killed during a shootout between police and bandits in Beetham Gardens on January 18th, remains under investigation. Police said Ali was struck by a stray bullet while standing in her friend's kitchen. The Police Complaints Authority is conducting a parallel investigation to determine if the fatal shot came from law enforcement or bandits. PCA head David West assured that any findings implicating a soldier will be referred to the Chief of Defense Staff. Police offered condolences to Ali's family and vowed to review their tactics in densely populated areas. Internationally, in his inaugural speech on January 20th, U.S. President Donald Trump announced the federal government will officially recognize only two genders, male and female. Speaking in Washington, D.C., Trump said this policy aims to create a colorblind and merit-based society, ending what he described as social engineering around race and gender. The announcement has been met with outrage from LGBTQIA+ organizations globally. Local activist Kennedy Maraj called it a harmful step back, undermining the rights and dignity of non-binary, transgender, and intersex individuals. Advocacy groups warn the policy could intensify discrimination and mental health challenges for marginalized communities. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia that's responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
It is now you don't need to register nothing. You don't need. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
They believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
WESN.
Hello there, and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thanks for joining us this morning, and we hope that you're well. Now, there's a lot happening across Trinidad and Tobago, within Trinidad and Tobago, as it relates to a number of socio-political issues. And oftentimes we speak about that on AM Prime. In fact, majority of times we start our early morning conversations with that. But recently, I've noticed something, and I don't know if this is an annual thing from personal witness. It's not to say I've recognized it before, but I've been told this happens all the time. The number of people I see exercising now, it's the start of a new year, it's just before Carnival, and the number of people I see exercising, it's a good thing. Overall, it's a good thing, don't get me wrong. Being health conscious and making an effort when it comes to your lifestyle, your health, and your wellness, excellent, great. I applaud that. Except, are you pushing yourself too heavy too quickly? Because you could be doing a lot more damage. And apart from which, making a couple laps at fast pace not only does bad for your physical health, but also you're putting a lot of strain and pressure on yourself. There's somebody who can expand on this a bit more, because I don't know all the science behind it. But this morning we are joined by fitness professional, Miss Karine Farmer. Good morning, Miss Farmer. Welcome
Good morning
to
to you. Good morning. Good morning.
So is this something that you've noticed as well? This high
Of
intense,
course.
high paced exercising?
It is a combination of things, right? I mean, everybody knows Carnival is around the corner. It's about what, about 5 weeks away. And then of course there's the New Year's resolutionists who have once again decided that, you know, they want to make a go at becoming the fit version of themselves this year. So when it comes to, well, there's the twofold thing is the New Year's resolution is most of the time they're just pacing themselves. They don't have a deadline. But the persons who are trying to get into a costume and look the way they would like to look tend to, like you said, put additional pressure on themselves, and they could end up doing some pretty aggressive things, which could put them in the situation where they're doing unsafe things to look the way they want to look, because it's all about the aesthetic and not necessarily about being healthy. So you're quite right about that.
So in that sense, is there too much of an expectation of trying to lose weight too quickly that I have a couple weeks before Carnival? In fact, the new year just started. I made a resolution. I'm going to see how much weight, and I'm going to try and lose as much weight as possible in a couple weeks.
Right. Well, let's do some math, right? Healthy weight loss is anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds a week. So let's say you just randomly decided, you know, I'm going to try to lose a few pounds before Carnival. So technically you could only lose between, if you do the math there, you could only lose between 5 and 10 pounds between now and then. And 10 pounds is aggressive, right? 2 pounds a week is pretty aggressive, and people don't realize that because they look at reality TV weight loss shows and they see people losing all this weight. But what they don't realize is behind the scenes, people are doing some pretty dangerous things, but under doctor supervision in order to get where they want to go. Realistically speaking, if you are looking to drop body fat alone and not muscle mass and lean mass, you are really only looking at anywhere between 5 and 10 pounds. So anything more than that requires unhealthy, aggressive methods. People go on really strange diets to get from point A to point B, and it's just not safe.
Does slim automatically equate to healthy?
No, of course not. Of course not. There are lots of very slim people who are very unhealthy. And due to bad habits like smoking, drinking, unhealthy lifestyles, sedentary living, high stress levels, the way you look has nothing to do with what your health is like at all.
So there is a big misconception out there. I mean, as you said, people probably watch a lot of reality TV, probably scroll through social media and see videos, and I don't know, it has an effect on them. But that in itself is a misconception. Is part of this actually, mentality as well?
It's diet culture. It's diet culture, which a lot of the times, we have to remember that what we see on social media is about selling. And people will say and do anything to sell a product. So one has to really educate themselves about how health and weight loss could be managed together, as opposed to just trying to look a certain way. Because when you focus on what you look like rather than how you feel and your performance, a lot of things tend to suffer as a result. So, people on social media and on TV are just always remember that they're trying to sell you something. Bottom line.
Well, and then just based off of it, some people try to sell themselves a bit of a dream, a far-fetched dream, or a dangerous, unhealthy dream.
Correct. And fitness influencers in particular, remember, they've been doing that for years. So they would present an image that has been worked on for the last 10, 15 years, and then they're trying to sell someone, an aesthetic, and telling them that they could achieve that same aesthetic in 3 or 4 weeks, and it's a lie. So yeah,
I'm glad that you say that, because I think social media tends to rule people's lives, and it's not always what you see. It's not all that glitters as gold. There's work that goes into it, but it's not just a matter of overnight you're going to see a huge shift. You might feel a bit strong in the morning after taking a run, but that doesn't mean anything, long term. But in
Yeah.
that regard as well, there's something that you said earlier. You spoke about diet. Are there also misconceptions of diet? Is there such a thing as going on a diet?
Okay. Well, the word diet has an unhealthy connotation simply, again, going back to diet culture, right? When we think about the word diet, we think about restriction. We think about not being able to eat the things that you enjoy eating. So all of a sudden, you have to become this person who says no to almost everything. And people end up thinking that they must think and behave this way in order to achieve. Again, it's going back to an aesthetic, right? But a diet is really whatever it is you choose to consume. If you're looking at it from a general standpoint, right? A diet is whatever you consume on a daily basis. It could be made up of whatever, right? The point is whatever you eat is your diet, right? So this idea of going on a diet, it comes from the diet culture mentality, where it is you're referring to restriction and very specific types of meals that are meant to accomplish a result, right? Now, we all know that diet is what particularly drives the way you look on the outside. When you're combining diet and exercise to achieve an aesthetic, most of the time your diet is the main driver and the exercise is a stimulus. Okay, so your diet is what determines whether you get bigger or smaller, and your exercise determines whether you keep or lose muscle mass. So, but your diet is really the main driver of that aesthetic.
So running 2 laps around the savannah, then saying, okay, I can go and eat 5 doubles afterwards is not a good idea.
Definitely not, because there could definitely be 5 steps forward with the exercise and then 10 steps back with what you choose to eat after. So it's really about figuring out, how am I going to put these 2 elements together to get where I want to go, and not just focusing on the way I look, but also on the way I feel on the inside. So if you focus on making sure that you feel good while you change your body, there's a better likelihood that you will get there how you want. It might take a little longer than taking drastic measures, but we have to be prepared to accept that, and that's fine. Okay.
So, do we need to move away from this word diet and probably focus more on meal plan?
Or I like the word nutrition.
Nutrition.
I like that better. It gives a sense of I'm trying to eat in a way that fuels my body, both for what I need to do on a daily basis and to make sure that I'm healthy. It combines those 2 things. And by making sure that you eat the right quality of food in combination with the right portions, I can both look and feel good and perform in the way in which I would like to perform.
So can you expand on that? Please excuse me, the right quality of food with the right portion, so the number of portions. I've heard people speaking of, well, I'm only eating 1 meal a day. It's going to be at lunchtime. It's going to be high protein. I'm skipping meals, or I'm taking 12 hours between breakfast and dinner. What, in your opinion, because everybody's different, but generally, what is a rule as per healthy nutrition and how many meals I should actually consume?
Well, standard practice is to eat 3 meals a day, and from my experience, most of my clients do well like that. The fitness industry tends to promote 5 small meals a day. Some people prefer intermittent fasting. I don't want to go into too much detail on the intermittent fasting thing, because I feel like women don't really do very well on that due to our hormonal responses. I don't have anything against it, but what you just described there about, OMAD, 1 meal a day, taking long periods or fasting windows is really just intermittent fasting. And it's pretty controversial. In my experience, my clients don't really do well on that. Most of the time, it puts them in a state where they become ravenous during their eating window and they end up overeating. And it doesn't matter if you're fasting for 12 hours out of the day. If you overeat during your eating window, you are still going to gain weight. So it's not about how many meals you eat a day. It's about am I in a caloric deficit, meaning am I consuming less calories than I am using, or am I in a caloric surplus? Am I eating more calories than my body actually needs to maintain my weight? It's really about that. So meal timing is not really something that's important. Not even how many meals you eat a day, because there are some people who I found, because of their lifestyle, they've gotten accustomed to eating 2 meals a day, and it doesn't make them ravenous when it's time to eat. But in my opinion, a balanced diet where you're eating 3 square meals a day is best. If you want to include a small snack, because sometimes like in the evening you need a little pick-me-up or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all about your overall caloric intake.
So then, if that be the case, is there a formula one can use to try and calculate maybe what I'm eating, what I have on my plate, or even in respect to exercise? How many steps is it that I burn calories?
Well, it depends on what your goal is, right? So if my goal, well, we're talking about weight loss, right? Everybody now is trying to lose weight because carnival is around the corner. So let's focus on weight loss, right? If I am trying to lose weight, really, a balanced plate would look like having half your plate in vegetables, fibrous vegetables, not the starchy kind, right? And then quarter of your plate should be complex carbs, right? Your complex carbs would be a high fiber carbs, high fiber bread, high fiber, whether it's ground provision, plantain, any type of high fiber carbohydrates. And then the other quarter should be lean proteins, right? Low fats type protein. Mostly like poultry, fish. Red meat tends to be on the higher fat side unless you choose cuts of meat that are low in fat. So you would choose low fat red meat if that's what you're eating. Things like eggs, that should be quarter of your plate. And that's just very generic, right? That could get a lot more customized if you are dealing with a specific client who has either very high activity levels or very low activity levels, and then you would adjust accordingly.
But in that sense, can you just distinguish between healthy fats and unhealthy fats? Because you just spoke about red meat, and there's also this conception about red meat, don't consume red meat. But then when people are trying to build muscle, we need to get as much protein as possible, and you probably get that from red meat, So how do you decide there as well?
Well, red meat contains saturated fats. Too high consumption of saturated fat is associated with heart disease and, clogged arteries and stuff like that. So you obviously want to minimize that's why I said, when it comes to choosing red meat in particular, you would choose lean cuts to avoid too much saturated fat. I don't want to give the impression that saturated fat is completely unhealthy, because it's not. It's just about how much you eat. But you want to avoid it. And you would prefer to eat plant fats, like avocados and nuts and those types of fats, more so than, let's say, fat coming from red meat, because those are the healthier types of fats.
Fair point, but I will admit that steak is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
The lean kind, the lean cuts.
So here's another topic of controversy, or topic of debate rather. When is the best time of day to exercise?
When you can stay consistent. So
simple.
Yeah, it's really that simple. Honest to goodness, because there are 2 guidelines I give on when is the best time to work out. And one is when you can stay consistent. And the other is you would want to choose a time of the day where your energy feels highest. Okay, so for a lot of people, their energy is highest in the morning. So if you have the ability and your life is set up in such a way that you could work out before your day gets started, like with work and other responsibilities, I would always encourage people to choose that time, because 2 things. You get it out of the way, and then you don't feel tired when you do choose to work out in the morning before your day starts. So that's, for most people, as a rule, it's good to get it out of the way first thing in the morning. But if not, the next best is whenever it is your energy allows. So if you can get a lunchtime workout in, I find a lot of people tend to struggle with after work workouts, especially if they work late. If you're coming off work at 6, 7 in the evening, it's very tough to go and train, because it's like, oh, you just want to go home and eat a good dinner and just go in your bed. So it becomes a struggle in that situation. So I would always encourage people to find a time that they could stay consistent. I remember when I used to work in the corporate world, lunchtime workouts were my jam because it's like, I don't want to wake up early, you know? But that's me. I'm not an early morning person at all. So
welcome to the
workouts
6 a.m. shift.
Yeah. Lunchtime workouts were my jam. So, you know, it's really about, and I knew I was able to stay consistent at that time. So that was the time that I chose for myself.
So what happens if, like me, I'm going to use me as an example. What happens if you are consistent, but consistently lazy? You just can't find that motivation to get up and get going, no matter what time of day it is.
You need accountability in that case then. You need somebody to say, let's get out there and get it done. Whether it's a buddy, a workout buddy, or whether it's an app that you have on your phone that's going to remind you, hey, it's workout time. You have to understand who you are. So if you know that you're consistently lazy, it means that you need somebody to show up for you. So you have to decide whether you want to pay for that help or whether you have a friend who is very consistent and is going to drag you out of your laziness and and get you going. It's really that simple. It's about accountability.
I feel like I just got a diplomatic buff. But I mean, there's so much to try and pack into just one segment, because again, everybody's different. Everybody's lifestyle is different. Everybody's digestive system and the whole body is different and can be different. But you know, generally speaking, what's the best advice that you can share with people who are now just so fast-paced? I need to try and lose weight. I've made a resolution. It's also carnival. What's the best advice you can give overall?
The best advice I would tell people is to pace themselves. There is not going to be any benefit to you to try and do like things that you have never done before in your life to get to, you know, looking a certain way in 5 weeks. There's just no point in doing that. Because what's the point of overtraining, under-eating, to the point where when you get on the road for Carnival Monday and Tuesday, you collapse or something else goes on to you, faint or some other thing? Because, I mean, you need high energy for the road. And you're not going to enjoy yourself if you are overtraining and under-eating before those 2 days arrive. So pick just, you know, if you were really looking at getting into the best shape before Carnival, you should have started that since June last year, depending on how much weight you want to lose, of course, right? Wanting to lose anywhere more than 20, 30 pounds, right? You should have started last year, right? If you're just looking to tighten up, maybe you might get away with losing 5 or 10 pounds before now and then, but it's all about just trying to get in your, at least get into the gym anywhere between a balanced workout at least 4 times for the week, right? Where you're encompassing all of your fitness pillars and eating 3 balanced or however many meals you're accustomed eating. Make sure you improve the quality of what you eat and don't overeat. And that's just really the generic advice that I could give anyone at this time. Don't overdo it. There's no point. You want to enjoy yourself.
And salads alone is a no-no.
Pardon? Say that again?
Is salads alone a no-no? Everybody's
Definitely. You need the 3 macronutrients in every meal. You need your vegetables, you need your carbohydrates, and you need your protein. Do not go on any nutrition plan that only includes green things. Don't do that. You're not a rabbit. You're a human being.
That's a good point. You know, some people like to think they're rabbits. No. You're not a rabbit.
And even rabbits need protein. So, you know.
That's true.
Yeah.
We all need protein. How does the Energizer Bunny keep going? You know? But Ms. Palmer, where can people get more information? Where can they follow you, even contact you? Should they need some personal assistance or personal training?
Well, I have a digital call card, right, that has all of my information. It's at about.me/suspension bell fitness. Suspension bell fitness. Well, suspension bell is spelled SUSPENSIONBELLE. So if you go on that digital call card, you'll see all of my socials and my phone number on there.
Suspension Bell Fitness.
Yes.
Where did that name come from? Suspension Bell.
When I started my business, I had two very favorite types of equipment. One of them is the suspension trainer. I love that thing to death. And I also tend to use a lot of free weights, which would include kettlebells, barbells, and dumbbells. So those are my favorite things to train with. And yeah, that's how I came up with that name. Actually, it's a friend who gave me that name, and it stuck.
Just looking up a suspension trainer here, and I'm thinking, why does this look like something that's very torturous?
It's absolutely not. It's absolutely not. The best one known on the market is the TRX. So if you're familiar with TRX training, it's the same thing.
Listen, I think at this point, I'm just going to simply say, we take your advice. Exercise is not torture. It's not a bad thing at all. You know, no
You
negative
can learn to like
energy.
it. You can learn to like it, honestly.
Yeah, I've got to get. I'm trying. I will tell you, I'm trying. Me personally, I'm trying. Well, I'll let you know in 6 months' time how it works out. But Ms. Palmer, thank you very much for joining us on the program this morning. Thank you for your time. You're not a morning person. Funny enough, neither am I, and yet this is my profession. You know,
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
You make the best of it.
Indeed. So thank you so much for joining us, and all the very best.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out Suspension Bell Fitness. It's about me/Suspension Bell Fitness. And you can check out Miss Farmer. She's on social media as well as Korean Farmer on Facebook, on TikTok, and on Instagram. So if you want more advice and if you want personal advice or one-on-one training, there you go. There you have it. Somebody who's plain straightforward about it, but also quite diplomatic. That diplomatic buff, I'll take the advice and stop being, well, try to stop being lazy anyway. We all need to, ladies and gentlemen. But get out there, get working. Do not set unrealistic goals. You know, look after yourself, look after your body, look after your mind. And ladies and gentlemen, health is a journey. It's not just going to happen in 5 weeks. It's a combination of many things. So, for more information, you can contact Miss Farmer. But for now, we're going to take a break here on the program, and when we return, we get into some more conversations. Stay with us.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, vinyl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drumheads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simon's, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
On Monday, July 29th, 2024, the Regional Coalition, as it relates to the decriminalization of suicide, was launched, and it focuses, well, it's advocating for legislative change across Caribbean islands, particularly Trinidad, the Bahamas, St. Lucia, and Grenada. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, annually, over 720,000 people commit suicide, and there are many more that actually attempt suicide. But there's now an argument around the world as to whether or not suicide should be legal, and there is even such a thing such as assisted suicide. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, suicide is illegal, but that legislative agenda is something that has not been discussed. This particular coalition, which is the Caribbean Suicide Decriminalization Coalition, seeks to try and address that, have that conversation, and advocate for change. So this morning, I am joined by co-chair of the coalition, Miss Emily Anna Bachin. Good morning, Miss Bachin, and welcome to AM Prime.
Good morning, and thank you so much for the WESN-CC team for having me here this morning to talk about this coalition that we are launching in Trinidad in particular. And I'm currently sitting as the mental health consultant of Carico Wellness Alliance. And as you all would have probably remember me from the last time I spoke about suicide prevention, I also serve as the Caribbean National Mental Health Focal Point of Let's Unpack It and the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund of Eastern Caribbean, which is where I represent our beautiful twin island of Trinidad and Tobago. And being the co-chair of the Caribbean Suicide Decriminalization Coalition, we have so much that we want to achieve at this time. And yeah, we have a lot that is in store that I want to share today to bring awareness to our citizens of Trinidad and Tobago about the work that we are doing.
Well, as it relates to suicide, it's still very much a taboo conversation. I mean, once a year it's raised because of World Suicide Awareness Day. But in that regard, generally speaking, nobody really wants to have a serious conversation about it. Nobody wants to speak about mental health and well-being. No one necessarily wants to focus on such a situation simply because of it could be simple things such as religious beliefs, or it's too negative. It doesn't belong in our space. Why is this conversation more important now as compared to before? And why is it that in particular the conversation is being expedited by even focusing on a legislative agenda to decriminalize suicide?
Right. So the thing about it is, and if our persons that are looking on this morning, if they don't understand the background of why persons are committing suicide and understanding that, it's actually illegal in 23 countries worldwide, which includes Trinidad and Tobago. And the coalition itself we are regional. So this includes St. Lucia, Grenada, the Bahamas, and decriminalizing suicide attempts that we see, it actually increases the stigma. So that going back to the point that you're talking about, where we see that a lot of persons, they are discouraged to seek help and have that conversation because they feel vulnerable, they feel stigmatized that, something's wrong with me for feeling the way that I'm feeling. And that essentially perpetuates the discriminatory attitudes essentially to persons that are in vulnerable groups. And to give a little bit more information about where we in the Caribbean sit. So I said that in the world, there's 23 countries that it is deemed illegal, inclusive of Trinidad, right? I'm just echoing that sentiment for it to sit, because we noticed that a lot of persons, they have no knowledge, our citizens in Trinidad, they have no knowledge that that is actually law in Trinidad. And that's why we want to move in that direction to decriminalize it in order for us to make it a better place, a safer place where it is no longer stigmatized and it helps persons to seek that help, right? And in the Caribbean, we saw that Guyana actually decriminalized suicide in the year 2022 and making that progress towards a much more equitable society where they could actually access the mental health services. That obviously would decrease the stigma. We've seen that, and that is actually research. And that initiative was actually reinforced regionally through the Bridgetown Declaration on NCDs, which are non-communicable diseases and mental health, at the SIDS Ministerial Conference in Barbados. And just looking at that, putting a pin in it, if a country in the Caribbean can decriminalize it in order for persons to access that health, we could see how we are next. Trinidad, we can definitely do something like that in order to stay and change the narrative surrounding suicide. And of course, building those effects, we as regional partners with Let's Unpack It, Mindwise TT, and UNICEF, seeing that I also sit on that platform where I'm representing our country, I'm advocating so that we could collaborate with other stakeholders within my country, particularly. So we have Minister of Health, we have all these different stakeholders that can assist us in moving and changing the narrative.
Well, Ms. Patient, in that regard as well, I think we've just lost your camera there for a bit, but hopefully, yeah, there
Sorry.
you are again. No worries at all, no worries at all. But there would be, or there could be, an argument that the decriminalization of suicide might actually encourage people more to perhaps even ponder upon the thought or the notion of suicide. Because suicide is one thing, attempting suicide is something else. And the thing is, it's still quite controversial. Yes, there are countries that are making progress. There are first world countries, developed nations that have even spoken of assisted suicide. But as it relates to Trinidad and Tobago and other Caribbean nations, is there too much of a fear that this can encourage even the thought of suicide?
So, based on research, it does not. It does not encourage it when we talk about suicide. In fact, when we talk about it, we open the space to sit in a room to be comfortable with our thoughts and with others. And then when we make relations about what we are suffering from, it could be stemming from all types of factors and contributions. Essentially, you know, there are things happening in the home, there are things happening at work, there are things happening all over that could be affecting a person to feel that sense of ambivalence and you know, that they don't have any purpose in life and things like that, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that if we talk about suicide, they're just going to do it. I think if we nurture and educate our younger persons about it sooner or later, they will get a better understanding of how we can get the help that they need. And I think that's the conversation that we're not having. And if we talk about ways people die by suicide or attempt suicide, we can see that there's a trend that they are going through something. They're either being bullied in the school, they're either being ridiculed in some way, or whatever have you. And we can tell that this is something that, you know, it's happening. It's more and more. We see it on the news in Trinidad where young persons they die by suicide because they're not getting that space, that safe space for them to be able to say, okay, you know, so and so happened at school, or something is happening at the home, to tell somebody in the school what is going on in order to get the necessary mental health needs that they, services that they would need. So, no, it does not. I'm just echoing that again. It does not encourage persons to die by suicide or attempt it. it actually opens up the door for young persons and persons that are very much in their adulthood as well, that might be facing challenges. It makes it a place where they can talk about what is happening and then find necessary means as to how they could navigate their life from then on.
So, Ms. Patient, small island developing states are vulnerable to many unfortunate circumstances, and we don't necessarily have access to the resources to help in those situations. And I say very many because it's a lot to get into. But as it relates to mental health, in recent years, there's been a lot of conversations, a lot of advocacy as it relates to the highest attainable standards of mental health across the Caribbean, across small island developing states as a whole. Is there a need for greater focus on policy making and resources to help achieve that goal, inclusive of conversations as it relates to suicide? Oh, Miss Beecher is frozen. We've lost Miss Beecher there. No worries at all. We're trying to get her back to join us on the conversation. A very important topic of discussion, but I think she is back with us now. Are you there with us, Miss Beecher?
Yes, the Wi-Fi seems to drop.
Small island developing state problems. No worries at all.
Yeah.
But were you able to hear the question?
Yes, I believe I heard the first part of it. So might I give some reference to, because we live in a small island, right? And of course, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. And that's where we, the coalition at CSDC, we are trying to change that narrative, bring stakeholders from all over in order to start that conversation. And also, we want not just to talk about it and advocate, because that's our strategy and that's why I'm here, right? But we also want that we revisit abolishing the colonial era laws. And that in doing so, we want that when we seek out to criminalize suicide and the suicide attempts, we want to abolish that. We want that. We see that as kind of archaic and that the laws, they are outdated. They need to change so that it can actually be more helpful for those that we're in 2025 now. So moving forward, we want to see some change in that arena where the laws actually are updated with the things that we're trying to advocate for, because it would be counterproductive if we still have a law stating that it's a chargeable offense. And I can read what the chapter says. Suicide and attempted suicide were incorporated in our laws based on Section 12 of the Supreme Court of Judicial Act, Chapter 401. And it was viewed as a criminal offense. Well, still is, right, currently, as stated in our common law. So seeing that this is some of the things that we need to look into, that is the start. That is what we want to do as the coalition. That is our main aim in Trinidad and Tobago, and we're hoping to get all the support from stakeholders. As many of the advocates we have are in Trinidad, also in the other Caribbean territories, also from India and the UK, and all of these efforts are actually supported by the United for Global Mental Health, UGMH, and IASP, which is actually the International Association of Suicide Prevention. And we actually, just last year, we had a conference in talking about the suicide preventative measures that we could, instill in our own countries. And it starts here. It starts with decriminalizing suicide, changing that law, changing that narrative and conversation to make it a place where all the mental health professionals and policymakers and NGOs and everybody can just come in together to support this initiative so that we could actually make that positive change. And that's our aim, that's our goal. Our mission is to continue speaking about suicide and the preventative measures. And that's the major aim in destigmatizing all the mental health issues like depression and anxiety and everything that persons actually experience. And again, it's nothing to feel ashamed about because we're human beings. We have a ton of emotions, and being happy, let me tell you something, is not the only emotion that you have. it's we're such complex human beings, and we should be more grateful for the fact that we can experience these things and understand it at the same time. And just shifting back to why people have suicidal ideation, it's complex. It's very, very complex. And that's why we need to start talking about it more and finding ways, solutions. That's what we want to see in our country because that's the only way we're going to see change. And it starts from these small little things. Yeah.
As it relates to, advocating for legislative change and an agenda as it relates to that's not always easy. It's difficult, but of
Yeah.
course, the hard work needs to be put in, the effort needs to be there. Has there been a strategy that has been adopted regionally? Because, as we mentioned, this coalition is not just for TNT. We are focusing on the launch in Trinidad and Tobago, but of course, it focuses on other Caribbean islands as well. Has there been a strategy that has been adopted for fierce advocacy for legislative agenda and change?
Right. So we actually are in the works. So I can't disclose that in the broad scale of things, but we are going to essentially be launching something in February where we will have a bit of a press conference where we have some of the stakeholders that we are going to be partnering with to continue building our coalition, and that in effect will be our advocacy strategy to get all hands on deck because we can't do it alone, and we appreciate all the support that we could possibly have. And in doing so, it's really a call to action. And once we can get the support from Ministry of Health and different bodies that we have that are government, parliamentarians and things like that, we would want to see that we can pass a bill. That will be our next move, essentially, to pass a bill and move a motion in Parliament where we can actually see the decriminalizing of suicide. And yeah, essentially, that would be our shift in narrative there. If we could decolonize the colonial laws, that will help with modern understanding, to help with the modern understanding of mental health, which would emphasize that suicide, we know that it's often linked with mental illnesses and, all these things that are contributed to it. It's very, from a punitive judgmental approach, we want to shift that type of language around suicide as well. So those are some of the advocacy strategies, but stay tuned. We will be talking more about that when February comes. So yeah, definitely.
As it relates to the launch of this coalition in Trinidad and Tobago, what can we expect next? Has it officially launched? Is there still a launch to come?
Right. So yes, there is an official press conference launch that is going to be happening in February. I don't want to disclose the date just yet, but it should be around the first week. And essentially, it would be recorded, and we would be able to share this information after it has been released, essentially after the launch. So you all can stay tuned for that information, and we will definitely have more conversations surrounding suicide and the preventative measures and what the coalition is doing currently in Trinidad.
Where can people get more information, or where can people follow this coalition?
So you can actually connect to the CSD Coalition. Literally the CSD Coalition. Yeah. So you can check out all the work that we're doing.
It's simple and easy. Miss Patient, I want to ask you though, I mean, again, coming back to how I introduced this topic, it always seems to be a difficult conversation, and people tend to shrug it off. People might not even want to hear about it, talk about it. It's difficult for some. It's taboo for others.
Yeah.
But in that regard, How, your advice to not giving up, your advice to holding strong no matter what you're facing, no matter what you're going through. People can't always talk to others. Where can they seek help? How can they seek help? How can they have that conversation?
So the first step would be to always find a comfortable environment. I think that's the number one thing because you can't talk to somebody in a place that makes you feel uncomfortable generally. So the first thing would be to do is find a common place that the person.
Whoops, I think we lost my patient again. I think, yeah, she is frozen and things are frozen on my end as well. That's okay, ladies and gentlemen. I think with that, that was a very important piece of information that we wanted to get from Miss Patient. But no worries about that at all. We can always have her back on the program another day to continue that. Well, actually, I guess another day is here already because Miss Patient is so
Yes,
Miss
and I
Patient, please
apologize.
continue. No worries
Yes,
at all. It happens. This is the thing with technology and
yeah.
even with an internet connection. So if you may.
Definitely. So yeah, the second thing would be essentially you want to have good listening skills. If somebody comes to you and they're talking to you about a problem that they're having, don't make it about you. It's not about you. You have to be able to be open to listen and to also be able to pick out what the person is saying, identifying what are their triggers, and if they can be clear, you can, if you're unsure, right, you can clarify by asking back questions that surround what they are sharing. So that would be the other way of going about the conversation. And after that, if it is they express something that seems alarming, right, and for you, you cannot handle it if you're not a mental health professional still, and they need to seek out that assistance, then simply go and look online. Google is your friend. You can find numerous psychologists, even from TTAP, the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists, right? I actually work there. And there are numerous types of psychologists that can assist with different specific issues, essentially, based on what the person is actually, feeling. And if it's somebody young and they don't feel like they're comfortable with a psychologist, because that sounds a bit scary or intimidating. There's also Young Caribbean Minds, which I also co-authored that book, where it's online. You can go on www.youngcaribbeanminds.com and you would actually see there are a lot of agencies in Trinidad and Tobago specific to your needs, and you can go and you can call them, you can email. There are hotlines as well, and then you make sure that you follow up with the person, and you give them that assistance. You don't just listen and then forget about it. You want to make sure they feel heard, they feel seen, so that they can always come to you and make that place a very safe haven. And yeah, that's essentially how you can start the conversation with anybody who's suffering in silence. Yeah.
Ms. Patient, I want to thank you very much for the work that you've done, the work that you're doing, and of course, all members of the coalition for their efforts as well. Thank you very much indeed, and all the very best. And needless to say,
Thank you
this
so
will not
much.
be the last conversation because we look forward to the launch that's taking place in about 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Ms.
Thank you so much
Patient,
for having me.
thank you very much. Take care. All the very best. Ladies and gentlemen, there is help. It can be found, it exists. And if you do not feel comfortable talking to your family or your friends, well, there are other avenues as well that are available. Now, I know that it may seem a bit scary for some. I use that word scary because there's so many emotions that flood through your mind. It causes anxiety and confusion as it relates to speaking to a therapist. But you need to understand that there are avenues that exist if you need assistance or if you need someone who knows assistance or needs assistance. My apologies. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a break here on AM Prime. Stay with us because we've got Wild Wednesday next. It's gonna get wild with Ricardo Mead. Stay tuned.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
Where good private health care is affordable.
The best birthday gifts are at dbesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices. Like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, vinyl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drumheads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simon's, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us this morning. It's Wild Wednesday. We're doing something a bit different this morning, though, because our furry guests that we usually welcome to the program, unfortunately, we're not too well behaved. So Ricardo put them in timeout, and therefore, instead, they're just watching it from the other end this morning. Ricardo Mead joins me in studio. Hello, Ricardo. Welcome back.
Good morning. Good morning. Great to see you.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be back.
Absence. Great to see you.
Yes, yes. And we're joined by Natalie Mohammed. She's a volunteer at the center, and she's an individual who knows all too well about the furry little friends we're speaking about this morning. Hello, Natalie.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. So we're speaking about capuchin monkeys, and we're all very much familiar with capuchin monkeys. When we speak about monkeys in Trinidad, I think it's the red howler and the capuchin, the first that come to mind. Right. But the furry little friend and the capuchin, people know about it because these are the monkeys you tend to see as pets, or the man walking on the beach with the collar and leash around a monkey, following not too far behind him. Those are capuchin monkeys. Yeah. Oh, why do they seem so popular as pets, though? What is it with the fascination with capuchin monkey and pets?
Besides it appears to be nice and cuddly. Like all animals when they are juvenile, well, babies, they're nice. It's easy to handle, no teeth growth.
I like how you said they appear to be cute and cuddly. And you stressed on they appear to be cute and cuddly. They're not cute and cuddly, are they?
No, they're not. Like Ricardo. Ricardo appears to be cute and cuddly at times, but...
No. Can be vicious.
I don't know what time she's referring to. Ricardo and cute and cuddly.
Cute and cuddly, that words you normally associate with me, but no words that people associate with these animals because of the movies. Let's start off there. The movies, Aladdin, right? What was the name of the monkey in Aladdin?
Actually,
Babu or something like that?
yes, yeah, Babu, yeah.
Right? And there are so many references with monkeys and stuff like that there. It's crazy. So people, what they see on the screens is what they want in their lives. And they don't realize the problem. That's a snapshot, that's a moment, that's an occasion. It's not the real thing. And when they get the real thing, that's when problems begin.
Reality hits.
Now, we were having a bit of a story of air about how it even starts as reality. People give monkeys as gifts?
They do. Yes. Persons who are, they want a pet, but they want a pet that's unusual, not just a regular, typical dog or cat. They say, yeah, I see a monkey, it's nice, it's cute and cuddly. They think that they could interact with it, take it around, baby it, because some persons lack that sort of bonding. So they want an animal that they think that they can hold around and do whatever they want. But then when it turns juvenile, that's when the reality kicks in.
Now, you work with these monkeys all the time,
yeah.
And you've had a lot of interactions, a lot of experience with these monkeys. Yes, they're very small. They do look cute and cuddly, but they're still wild animals, of course. And no matter how many times you've interacted with them, they're always going to remain wild animals.
Yeah, so hence the term wild animal. A lot of people fail to realize that besides being cute and cuddly from baby, when they turn adult and juvenile, they get aggressive. I interact with the animals throughout months, years, same animals with the center. And it doesn't matter, I still get bit. Right? I have a lot of scars, stitches, wounds to show. And it's not that I am now interacting with this wild animal for the first time. They know me. I feed them. I interact with them. I handle them. And they still turn aggressive.
Ricardo, when I came to this center, I know that you guys had a few capuchin monkeys. Well, I guess you could say a troop of capuchin monkeys. But what was so amazing is that you had like double fencing. You did double fencing.
Yeah.
They're sneaky little creatures, aren't they?
So imagine something realistically that is 5 times stronger than a human for the weight.
Wait, what?
They're 5 times stronger than a human.
They're very strong.
That?
So for that, yes, that would land. Okay, if you were that small, you would be lifting probably half a sheet of paper or something like that for our body strength.
Yeah.
They can do amazing things. And they have opposable thumbs, don't forget that. So their hands function the same way as ours. They also have the largest brain to body ratio of any mammal. So there's a lot going on up there. They're thinkers, they're analytical, they remember things, they process things.
Ricardo, just pause enough for one moment. This is astounding. We're going to take a break because I just need to digest what he's saying. When we come back, we're going to continue with them. I'm so sorry. My jaws are so dropped. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for staying with us. I needed a moment. I had to pause for a moment because Ricardo is just saying an incredible story. Ricardo, let's get back to that. What? Five times?
5 times the strength of a human.
This is a capuchin monkey, by the way, yeah?
And it is relative. Now remember, this animal is probably 3-4 kilos. We are dozens of kilos, 40, 50, 60, 70, and up like that. But if we were scaled down to that size, with our strength that we have, we would be absolute weaklings. They would take us and body slam us all over the place. That's how strong these animals are. But then also, remember also, when you scale down to, like, for example, the size of an ant, a bachak, a leaf-colored ant. That thing that they're carrying weighs many times 7 and 8 times their body weight.
Yes, yeah.
So if you now weigh 200 pounds, you should be able to carry 1,400 pounds, a ton. Just pick it up and walk with it, and we can't do that. So when we scale it and understand how strong even some of the small animals are, but this animal isn't that tiny, he has a little size there. And now when you put that now to interact with a human being, with your face, your limbs, in your home, they can do a lot of damage. And they do a lot of damage. They are absolutely horrible in a home environment. I had a friend in Florida, she built an enclosure for them adjacent to her home, and they ate the entire thing.
They ate all that she had in the enclosure?
Sheetrock and wood and vinyl, they ate it all. They destroyed it. Their fingers, they ripped up the tiles. She couldn't believe, you know. And when they got the tile up, they broke it and they used it to dig out the other tiles. They ate the sheetrock because they found it was kind of funny to do that and crumble and throw the dust. They are destructive beasts that should not really be kept the way they're kept. So the ones we have at the center, they have, I think it's a 12 gauge, a 12 and a half gauge PVC coated chain link. And then we've come in with a half by half PVC coated rabbit wire on top of that.
Yeah.
Because to keep their hands from getting there, or some people silly and would try to put things in there.
No, I know that at one point a couple of them were sticking their fingers out, and I was fascinated. I was like, cute and cuddly. And Donna, who was with me at that time, was like, do not put your finger there.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't put your finger there.
Because you wouldn't believe the force that they will grab your hand and pull.
And you've got the scars to prove it.
Yes.
So tell me about some of the experiences where you've more or less been bitten all over by a monkey.
I have practically been bitten all over. As I said, I have scars throughout my hands. Fresh ones, old ones. Had to get stitches. As I said just now, I have a piece of hair that's growing right back here. See? So I had, they bit me. I had to get stitches. And this is a monkey that I interact with literally every day, morning, noon, night.
This is a monkey that knows you.
Knows me.
Wow.
We've been seen about for years, and so as I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter how much interaction you have with it. It's wild. They are wild animals. They are not domesticated, and they cannot be domesticated. You know, hence the reason why do not buy. Don't encourage buying.
Where through Trinidad and Tobago, where do you find these monkeys?
Well, forested areas, which are actually, we have to admit, are shrinking.
Yeah.
So that's creating a bit of a problem. I remember with the smelter project, many people approached me. There were areas down south where they would go and park up in the evening and hear or even see the howlers. Those areas were cleared. So those monkeys' habitats were destroyed, and they had to move on. And some people call and complain that they've seen monkeys more and coming right by the house and so on. So when you shift from one area, shift into another area, creating a sort of imbalance and a problem for those people. While the howlers are not aggressive, you know, I mean, they do occasionally use fecal and urine to defend their territory. So they will pee and poop on you just to tell you this is our area, stay away from there. And so we had some of those conflicts going on because of our need for development. And but forested areas, so we only have 2 native species of monkeys. You know, it'll be a great time to show that if you have the clips for that.
Yeah, the native species.
Right, so we have a red howler monkey, which is considered one of the loudest animals in the forest. By the howl, they have a tremendous voice box, and when they howl. So yeah, this one is the white-fronted, this is the other, and this is our only type of capuchin that belongs in Trinidad. The white-fronted capuchin, that's the red howler right there. That was Zoe, that look there. The males can get quite powerful, quite large, and that lovely sort of, you know, sorrel color.
Let's go back to that video one more time.
Right.
Well, you see, the thing is with the red howler, you said one of the loudest. Yeah. You hear this miles away.
Yes, and it's kind of refreshing to know that you can hear that here in Trinidad. But their territories are shrinking, and their numbers are shrinking because some people still hold on to, one, killing them to eat them, killing them to use their voice box. It said if you drink from their voice box, it will cure asthma.
That is, wait, what? That is a...
That's a thing in Trinidad.
We believe a lot of weird stuff, don't we?
We believe a lot of crap. And then we point fingers at other cultures and say, they're weird, right? Our lizard monkey eating people here in Trinidad look at the rat people in another country and say they're weird. Hold up that mirror, Trinidad and Tobago, and see what we are doing.
I know, forgive the look on my face. Whilst you guys may be aware of this, I was not entirely aware of this. I was down the islands. I'm hearing red howler monkeys. I'm asking the guy who's operating the boat, whoa, where are they? He says, don't even bother looking. They're miles away. You're just hearing them.
Yep.
But I didn't realize people believed in all these things where they would go kill the monkeys just for nonsense.
Have gun, will shoot. Part of the culture here in Trinidad and Tobago now.
Now, I know that you've gotten poop and pee thrown at you as part of defense as well?
In the wild, they tend to do that. So if you see a local red howler, from a distance, they would try to defend or say, this is my territory. But personally, not on me. The ones that we've interacted with at the center, occasionally they would take their poop to strangers and they would throw it through the fence.
That is, whoa. The diet, primarily, what are their diets?
Persons who buy the illegal ones, they tend to give it sweets. I have no idea why. Yeah. Cotton candy, chocolate.
Marshmallows and processed foods, creating more problems for themselves. Firstly, health problems within the animals whose body is meant to process whole foods. So you have partially processed food and the body does not know what to do with it. So you do get obesity, you get diabetes,
Same
and you
as
do
us.
get developmental problems from the coloring, same as in children, right? Then also the lack of proper nutrition, which is they're omnivores. A tremendous part of their diet, protein. So you get that protein from insects, reptiles, fish,
Birds.
mammals, and birds.
Eggs.
Right?
You know, you every week that you guys come here, you never cease to amaze me. What you're telling me this morning, people will actively and willingly give them the same nonsense that we as adults should not be eating.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's what they give their children now also. So you see the correlation and the problems with childhood obesity rising and also mental developmental problems because of the processed food and the colorings, which are very prominent in Western foods. Strangely enough, it isn't that so much in Europe, where they have banned a lot of addition of coloring to food. So that the federal red, yellow, and blue, those are proven to create mental issues and developmental issues in children. So now put that in a poor monkey, issues right there.
Natalie, off air, we were all speaking about how people actually go about trying to acquire these monkeys in the wild. What you told us off air, I want you to share with the viewers exactly how people, what they do to get just one baby capuchin monkey.
Okay, so think about it as if a mother has a child and somebody wants, it's like I'm walking in the street and I see a mother with a child and it's like, oh yeah, I want that baby is very cute and I want that baby. Do you think that the mother would willingly give me that child? No. So how am I going to get it? So me being a hunter now, I was like, yeah, I could make some money from that baby. I want that baby. So I go try to get it from the mother. But how am I going to get a baby monkey off the back of a mother monkey way at the top of a tree? What do you think?
Mother has to go.
Mother has to go. But how is she going to go? Because they're at the top of the tree. So you're going to shoot a mother monkey with the baby on its back. So two things.
The baby will fall with the mother.
Two things happens. The baby falls with the mother screams. So while the baby falls down to the ground and the mother falls as well, the mother is screaming, trying to defend herself still with the baby. As a troop, monkeys don't go on their own. They come with a troop. So when one come and next one come, he has to defend all of them to just get at one baby.
So in other words, he has to kill all of them to get at one baby.
Correct. Up to 10 to get one.
And then when you get that baby, remember, it falls from a tree. So when it falls from a tree, trauma, head trauma, all could have broken limbs. You don't know what could have happened. And then it's not in Trinidad. We're going to get it from South America. How is it going to come here? Plane?
No.
So they have to smuggle it in. And the conditions that they smuggle these animals into the country, it's really inhumane. You wouldn't even want that for anything.
This is consistently ongoing? This is just...
Yeah. Right? Also, put this graphic in there. They've been smuggling. After the babies there is collected, they give somebody probably 5 or 10 US for it. They collect them together and have, that's what happens there. They have them together in a village tied around their waist and have the little kids in the village taking care of them, giving them sometimes stale milk and bread. Okay, instead of their mother's milk and bread. That is what's going on. That's the smuggling. That's what we are doing here in Trinidad and Tobago with these animals from South America. So you can look in the face and say it's so cute, but you can't look in the face and see the trauma that you would have caused and the damage and the blood that runs all the way. This is what happens in your house. Destroying people's homes. They get aggressive. Look at those teeth.
Yeah.
Canine.
Let's go back to that video again one more time.
So what people don't get also, so you have them in a cage, you put them in a wicker basket, for example, and they're smuggling over with all sorts of other contraband into Trinidad. See the baskets right there?
Yeah.
Right? So they're coming over into Trinidad, and if they see a flashing light, say, for example, down south, and somebody says, "Hey, policia, policia, policia," they would unload their cargo.
Into the ocean.
Into the water.
Into the water. So this is not a guess, this is not an assumption. Many wicker baskets like that have been found on Columbus Bay, on the beach there, with dead monkeys, dead parrots, dead finches, all sorts of things coming. They throw that into the water, okay, to try to protect themselves and lessen their charges of smuggling and so on. Now, if the way I was told drugs and illegal guns are packaged, they survive the water because you just have to vacuum seal it. You can't vacuum seal the monkeys.
No.
So they die, and you just see it rolling in the surf and you find them there. The same way that a few months back they found thousands of cocaine packages all over, and people in a particular village were having a time. And then it started a whole murder thing, because if someone had 10 and you had 2 and you wanted this 10, the only way to get them was, it had a whole sort of madness was going on in a village down on the southeast coast of Trinidad because of that. So this is the reality. This is part of what's fueling the crime and all of that. It's all a part of it.
And people
it's
need,
one boat.
Yeah, they need to understand that if you don't buy, then there will not be a demand, then it will stop, because this is inhumane, and it's continuing because people are continuing to buy. And then they lack the knowledge of knowing what happens when they turn juvenile, and juvenile is 3 years, 3 years. And when they turn juvenile, it doesn't matter if you had your baby in it, they bite. They get aggressive and they bite. And that is when...
I mean, I'd be aggressive too if somebody puts me in a cage.
At that point in time is when they say, oh, this monkey biting, I cannot deal with this monkey. And then they go to release it into our ecosystem.
Creating further problems.
Yeah.
So it's from the start to the very end, it's fraught with problems. And it's not simple problems. Some of the invasive animals are, I wouldn't say simple problems, but are much less in your face. These create tremendous issues. There's hardly a day that goes by but my phone doesn't ring. I don't know if you call the right people, but there's a monkey on our roof. East, west, north, south, all of them illegal monkeys. Our capuchin monkey, the white-fronted capuchin, the numbers are believed to be under 250.
Wait, what?
The one that you saw in the video, in the picture, less than 250. Because remember, you have to understand, Trinidad is separated from the mainland. Mammals would not have the ability to swim across the water to have the genetic diversity. So our animals that remain trapped on our little rock here called Trinidad would have had a smaller genetic pool and would have developed quite differently. So our white-fronted capuchin is being given a separate classification, a separate, a subspecies, because it can be found nowhere else. Same way as our anteater can be found nowhere else. Our ocelot can be found nowhere else. So we have some special things here, and our problem is we don't respect and appreciate it. So we out there beating the drum, waving flags, trying to tell people we have amazing stuff here that is ours. It's as Trini as a Trini could ever be a Trini, and you all don't appreciate it, and you're all doing things to destroy it.
Every week, you guys come, you guys bring animals, you educate people. This week was a bit different. We didn't have animals on set, and rightfully so. You can't bring those monkeys on set. Just basically what you all have described.
Even if they were caged, we're not going to, because you know what they're going to say first? Look, you have this in a cage. I can do that too.
Exactly.
So
no matter what you say, because they're going to see them in the cage. Correct. They're going to say, you know what? No, look, you're doing it. I'm going to do it. And it's heartbreaking, and it's frustrating, and it's angering me as the host sitting down, you know, as a nature lover and enthusiast, what you all are telling me. And the mere fact is, you all have to go through this because this is what you all do. This is your job. This is, you all trying to really save what TNT has and what TNT has to offer. So though it's frustrating and very hurtful, I'm really pleased that you guys were able to come and share these stories and these experiences and tell us exactly what's going on in TNT, especially in regards to this illegal smuggling. They just throw the basket overboard. I can't.
Yeah.
That is.
Put it this way, for every animal, it's an additional charge. So you have to unload as much contraband as possible to minimize your charge and just hold your net up and say, hey, we're just fishing or whatever it
and the
is.
sad thing is, if you are in possession of an illegal animal, such as the monkeys, it's a $5,000 charge. It's not a lot.
Yeah, that's not going to lead to people.
Yeah. So they need to do something about that.
Even if they are to be fined in any case, if they are to be caught in any case. Natalie, before we go, as I said, you work with these monkeys all the time, and still, you know, you face the difficulties and the hard parts of dealing with them. Just share your final thoughts and messages with the viewing public.
My final thoughts is, please stop the illegal pet trade. If you don't buy, there will not be a demand, and we will eventually eradicate this whole thing, right? They are not nice, they are not cuddly, they bite, and I have a lot of scars to prove. Sometimes I have on my face, I have on my hands all the time. When people look at my hands, it's like, oh my God. But it's monkeys, and it's because I interact with them, and it's because these monkeys didn't ask for the life that they had. This is the life that was given to them, and it's not their fault. Even up to last week, Diego Martin, they had a monkey on the loose for a while causing havoc.
I saw that video.
Right?
On people's roofs and
yeah. And this is what happens. It goes and they're not from here, and it's not their fault, and they're scared, and they're just trying to get food. So please stop this buying, stop encouraging this illegal pet trade.
Ricardo, you know, thanks for coming on this morning.
Yeah.
But all these stories and experiences, wow.
Yeah, always, you know, and one thing to understand, people like, I could do it, I could do it, I could do it. You get a monkey now, 45 years. That's your sentence. That's a monkey's life sentence. They'll live for 45 years. Have you planned? You even plan what you're doing next year. But you're going to go and keep this animal, a sentient being that was trapped, that is wild, that will always be wild, for 45 years. People, come on, think. Think about it. Make better decisions. Let's stop the illegal wildlife trade, especially these monkeys that are suffering. And at the end of the day, many will have to be put down.
Sad reality.
It's a sad reality. It's really distressing. But that last video in particular, I'm going to close the show this morning by asking my directors just to play the non-native species video for people to have an idea just one more time as we close. So Ricardo, Natalie, thanks so much for joining me on the program this morning.
Thank you
as usual.
for having us.
And really, it's a different Wild Wednesday, but it's needed, it's necessary. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to stress this message once more, as I close, I wish you a good day, but take a look at what we're doing, to what nature has given us, to our furry friends and creatures, what we're destroying. As we conclude, we leave you with this.
WESN.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.